All right, my friends, welcome back. This is going to be part 28 of my presentation on the flood and Noah's Ark. And in this video here, we're going to kind of round up the topic on coal. But before I do, I had somebody comment on a previous video that I did on polystrate fossils, especially polystrate trees. If you'll notice on the screen, um, this is that one slide that this person had an issue with. And it says here on the slide here that uniformitarian in uniformitarian thinking, the average rate of deposition of material, according to uniformitarian scientists, would be around a half an inch to an inch per 1,000 years, and it would take about 100,000 years to bury a 30-foot tree. And so that is just their thinking on how sediments lay. Now, the person that made the comment on my YouTube channel stated that it's nonsense. That's mainstream scientists don't believe that, and that they believe in that there can be rapid burial of trees, But the thing is that we're not talking about trees that were buried necessarily at where they were growing. I was talking about log mats, and that these trees were deposited and then buried, because some of the trees have been found upside down, sideways. They've been found with root balls where the roots have been ripped out, and with there's hardly any roots at all. And so where these trees didn't have any branches, or they didn't have any bark on them. And so, but the thing is, you got to understand from the research that I've been done from other researchers, is that what they'll do is that whenever they see uniformitarians will see this type of evidence, then they'll say, it is nonsense that a tree would sit there for 100,000 years to be buried. Derek Ager, a person that does not believe in the Bible and does not like creationists too much, and we've spoke about him in the past, he did agree. Matter of fact, that's where I got that one quote from originally, though it is in this one article also. But Derek Ager does not believe that tree sat there for 100,000 years while it would be buried. They see that yes, there's a problem with that. And so, but the problem is that right around the areas where you see these trees like that, they say, yes, that is rapid burial. But they don't say that in other areas of the world. And so they do hold on to the long, drawn out ages, though they will give these areas here. Like the person that made the comment on my YouTube channel said that rapid burial does not mean recent. Well, I know what they're trying to say there. What they're trying to say there is that these trees had rapid burial millions of years ago, or hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years ago. These trees were rapidly buried. And so, again, we're on two different sides of the spectrum here. They're talking about long ages of time, and I'm talking about a recent time in Earth's history. You got catastrophism, which is the biblical worldview, and then you've got the secular worldview, evolution or uniformitarianism, which holds to that long ages. Now, the polystrate trees that I'm talking about was buried at the flood about 4,400 years ago, and so they're saying that it happened. It could have been several million years ago. And so, again, we're on two different sides of the spectrum here. And so, yes, I can see what the play of the words that they're saying. Rapid does not mean recent, and I agree with them to a certain extent. That's true. That could have been. I see what they're trying to say is that could have been rapidly buried a million years ago. But that's not what we're on two different sides of the spectrum here. I'm talking about a biblical worldview, and that's where we differ. This is the reason why I am centering my view is on a biblical time frame. And so again, we're kind of arguing it's not going to help any. We can argue all day long about was that rapid, and I'm not arguing with him. I'm not saying that there are scientists, mainstream scientists out here that believe that those were not buried rapidly. And so if that be the case, hey, fantastic. The only thing is they still give those layers millions of years of long ages of time. And so that's where we differ. That's where we differ. And so, but in other areas of the world, other sedimentation where there's no trees, they do says it takes hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years for layers of sedimentation to form. And so what we're saying is that no, it formed very recent in Earth's history after the flood, and you needed water to have those type of sedimentary depositions. And so, but at any rate, going on from that, I just kind of wanted to nail that before we went on with the video. You've got different ways that coal is actually mined. And so this is a picture. They got the underground mining methods, and then you've got on the right side of it shows surface mining methods. And so it's different ways that people mine here. If you want to freeze the video and kind of look at all these are some different ways. I'm not going to go through these. I just wanted to show you that these are some of the ways that they do mine coal. And what we're going to look at is guys, we are going to look at that there has been things that has been found in coal that was man-made. And that can't be, because in the geological time scale, you've got the Carboniferous period. That is your coal. That's the age where they said there was abundance of plants, and that this is when the coal had formed. And so now we do say that there was an abundance of plants on this planet, but it was before the flood. It was pre-flood. The pre-flood world was way different than it is now. And that's the reason why you will hear me constantly say is that the world that then was perished. It perished. The Bible talks about that, how the world that then was perished. It was a completely different world than we have now. And if you get that understanding, it can help you understand some of the things that we find in the world that when we're talking about creationism and we're talking about the pre-flood world and stuff like that. But on this geological timeline, there should be no human artifacts in coal. We should find none whatsoever, because you got the evolution of humans about 1.8 to 5.6 million years ago, when we supposedly branched off the chimpanzees. And so there should be none. Now, this is the reason why your evolutionists and uniformitarian people are going to have a real hard time with the things that I'm about to show you. Now, Sulphur Springs, Arkansas, November 27, 1948. This guy says, while I was working in the municipal electric plant in Thomas, Oklahoma in 1912, I came upon a solid chunk of coal which was too large to use. I broke it with a sledgehammer. This iron pot fell from the center, leaving the impression or mold of the pot in a piece of the coal. Jim Stoll, an employee of the company, witnessed the breaking of the coal and saw the pot fall out. I traced the source of the coal and found that it came from the Wilburton, Oklahoma mines. And this was from Frank J. Kennard. And again, he swears that this happened on this certain date here. And this is that pot that was found. It's now in Dr. Carl Ball's Creation Evidence Museum. Okay, that should not be in coal. It should not be there. And so, again, showing that coal is not millions and millions of years old. Here's another one. An anonymous fossil, which means abnormal. Bronze bell found encased in a large piece of coal. The coal was dated at 300 million years. 300 million years old. Primarily a bronze with a curious admixture of zinc. Historians compared the bell to artifacts from all cultures and concluded that it was most similar to ancient Babel. Get that. And so here's a close-up of that bell. Quite amazing. Again, Another fossil, which they call OOP. They call it OOP art, which means out of place artifacts. Out of place artifacts. You'll normally will see that. And so this is one here. Should not be in coal, but it is because the coal is not millions of years old. The boy who found it in the 1940s discovered it while shoveling coal in his home furnace. One chunk about 15 inches by 20 inches in area and 6 inches thick. It was too large, and when he broke it, a metal object protruded. Diligence completely removed all coal from the bell, which had a 2-inch stem between the bell and a human-like figure on top. A man in a kneeling position with arms and wings. Records show the coal had been excavated from a shallow mine near his home in Buckhannon, West Virginia. And so there you go there. A curious find was brought to light by Mrs. S.W. Culp last Tuesday morning as she was breaking a lump of coal preparatory to putting it in the scuttle. She's discovered a lump fell apart, embedded in a circular shape, a small gold chain about 10 inches in length of antique and quaint workmanship. The lump of coal from which this chain was taken is supposed to come from the Taylorville or Panna mines, southern Illinois. The chain was an 8-karat gold and weighed 8 penny weights. And so this is from the Morrisville Times, June 11th, 1891. Now, the Illinois State Geological Survey has said that the coal in which the gold chain was found is 260 to 320 million years old. And so again, that gold chain by the geological time scale, that gold chain should not be there. Okay, moving on. The Daily News, Omaha, Nebraska, April 2nd, 1897. Carved stone buried in a mine. While mining coal today in the Lehigh coal mine, Webster City, Iowa, at a depth of 130 feet, one of the miners came upon a piece of rock which puzzles him, and he was unable to account for its presence, get this, at the bottom of the coal mine. The stone is of dark gray color and about 2 feet long, 1 foot wide, and 4 inches in thickness. Over the surface of the stone, which is very hard, lines are drawn at angles, forming perfect diamonds. The center of each diamond is a fairly good face of an old man, having a peculiar indentation in the forehead that appears in each of the pictures, all of them being remarkably alike. Going on, it says, of the faces, all but 2 are looking to the right. How the stone reached its position under the strata of sandstone at a depth of 130 feet is a question the miners are not attempting to answer. Where the stone was found, the miners are sure the earth had never been disturbed. Okay, another one. Block wall in Oklahoma mine, 1928. W.W. McCormick, Abilene, Texas, reported his grandfather's account. In the year 1928, I. Atlas Almond Mathis was working in coal mine number 5, located 2 miles north of Heavener, Oklahoma. This was a shaft mine, and they told us it was 2 miles deep. The mine was so deep that they let us down into it on an elevator. They pumped air down to us. It was so deep, as Mr. Mathis was blasting coal loose in room 24, he states the next morning there were several concrete blocks laying in the room. These blocks were 12-inch cubes and were smooth and polished on the outside that all 6 sides could serve as mirrors. Yet they were full of gravel because I chipped one of them open with my pick, and it was a plain concrete inside. As I started to timber the room up, it caved in, and I barely escaped. When I came back after the cave-in, a solid wall of these polished blocks was left exposed. About 100 to 150 yards farther down, or air core, Another miner struck the same wall or one very similar. Some of the miners reported finding a solid block of silver in the shape of a barrel. With the prints of the staves on it, Mr. Mathis stated that the company officers pulled the men out of the mine and told them not to speak about what they had found. The wall was closed in the fall of 1928. A primitive Baptist preacher, Elder Sonny Piles, was visiting with coal miners in Tennessee. They told him of finding all kinds of things in the mines and that there was a certain mine entrance that all the miners knew about, where there was a woman spread eagle on the ceiling in the coal. Amazed, Elder Piles asked, "Well, how did all that get down there?" The miners replied, "How do you think it got down there? It was buried in Noah's flood." And those guys are 100% correct. And so if you guys want to learn any more, many of what I just showed you here, these little stories, came from The Hidden History of the Human Race by Michael Cremo and Richard L. Thompson. Now, I will say this, Michael Cremo is a Hindu, and he does believe into the long ages of time. He does believe that, the geological ages, time scale. And so he just tries to say that man was here much longer than what we're stating. But again, he does great research. He has good information in this book. He just comes to the wrong conclusion. And so, but you can learn some really neat and amazing things in this book. And I do have this book in my library. And so, but we're going to stop right there. And when we come back, we're going to get into oil. I know in my last video I said we were going to talk about oil in this video, but I think I'm going to wait and we'll get into it on our next video. And so, but you guys take care. I love you, and I hope the Lord blesses you real good. Bye-bye.